Fringe Radio, your trusted source for the paranormal, conspiracy theory, and true crime.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Dark Fringe Radio. I'm your host, of course, Will Martinez, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Before we get into our guest, we're doing just a quick housekeeping, just how you can listen to the podcast, how you can get all our great information. Go to our website, darkfringeradio.com. That's where you can go and get everything there. We've done over 165 episodes. We're in our 8th year now of doing this, so plenty of content for you guys to enjoy and go through there. Make sure you go darkfringeradio.com. And of course, all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and of X, of course, at Dark Fringe Radio. And of course, cannot forget YouTube. Make sure you go there, like, subscribe, and like all our stuff there. So we really appreciate it. And so tonight, we have a very special guest. And tonight's guest is an author and investigator, George Haas, and he is the author of his most recent book, The Great Architects of Mars. And George delivers into anomalous structures and geoglyphs on Mars, hinting at a lost Martian civilization contact with Earth over 800,000 years ago, and hinting at just huge, examples of how there's a connection of the architecture on Mars and it is here and on Earth as well. So this revelation kind of merges the space exploration, extraterrestrial life theories, of course, ancient civilization studies, geology assessments, and of course, archaeological debates. And George is also the founder and the premier investigator of the Mars research group known as the Cydonia Institute, a member of the Society of Planetary Study Research. He's also co-authored 2 books and 6 peer-reviewed science papers related to the anomalous formations on the surface of Mars. He's appeared on Coast to Coast AM with George Noory and the History Channel's Ancient Aliens, The Proof is Out There, and The Unexplained with William Shatner. Please welcome to Dark Fringe Radio our guest, Mr. George Haas. George, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully we won't have any storms coming in here. I'm in Virginia.
Okay, I'm in Florida.
Oh, are you? Yeah, so we had a lot of activity here today, but it looks like it's cleared up, so hopefully we won't fade in and out.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, I'm really excited about this discussion tonight. I read your book. Phenomenal, by the way. Phenomenal. You know, the topic on Mars has always been a very hot topic for me. I've always had a lot of interest in it, and your book just kind of really added a lot more layers to this whole Mars question that I've always had running around in my head. So, George, let's jump into it, of course. Welcome to the show. For those that are not familiar with your work, can you give us a quick synopsis about your background and your journey and how it got you to write this book?
Yeah, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I graduated in 1976 from high school. That was the bicentennial year. You know, we're coming up on the 250th anniversary. Well, I graduated in 1976. That's when they had the Viking mission that was going to Mars. So it was a pretty exciting time. So they had the Viking 1 and 2 that landed on Mars during the bicentennial. They also found evidence that they thought was a human head that they took a picture of in the Cydonia area, which caused all this controversy. And so that was an exciting time. That's basically how my interest in Mars basically started. And then years later, when NASA decided to send more probes and satellite imaging of the planet in the 1980s and 90s, of course, I got more interested in the exploration of Mars and looking at the NASA images. So that's basically how I started out. And just so the audience knows, I am not a scientist. I'm an artist. My background, I went to college. I'm a painter, a sculptor. I taught art and did some curating of art shows and stuff like that. Exhibited up in New York. So my background is in art. I'm not a scientist. So just so that the audience knows. And one of the reasons I was taken into the Society for Planetary Study Research was, which is mostly all scientists. They're all geologists and all types of science backgrounds. That they were interested in my ability to look at surface features, with the artistic eye, as opposed to the scientific mind is mostly just looking at the geology. And if they saw a building on the surface, they probably would overlook it because the geology was more interesting.
Of course, of course.
That's
It's
my background, and that's I just want the audience to know that I'm not a scientist.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that we got that clarified. But your book, "The Great Architects of Mars," the title itself is really intriguing. And the reason why I say that is because it kind of leads into obviously one of the topics in the book of who are the architects? Who are these things? What are these things? In your opinion, what do you feel like these who are these architects? Who are they? What are they?
Well, it's an interesting story. Looking at all these structures on Mars, it appears to be different time frames that these structures were built, which I get into on discussion in the book about that. A lot of the structures seem to be really devastated, like they were, really damaged through possibly ancient wars, and they were, either hit with meteors, or there's a lot of damage to some of these structures. And other structures appear to be pristine, like they were only built maybe 20,000 years ago. So we have that interesting presence of the structures on the surface, which gives a broad time frame. And a lot of this is explained with, which we'll get into later, about the Maya story, about the Maya Star War, which happened, over almost a million years ago. And other scientists that talked about, the CIA were doing remote viewing, and they were dating some of this stuff to a million years ago. Dr. Brandenburg, he dated these structures being destroyed about a million years ago. The Maya talk about this occupation and this war with Mars about a million. So they have this repetitive texture that's coming into this history here that seems to all focus on this million years ago scenario. And the Maya also talk about, which we'll discuss later in the program, but we're throwing it out there now,
Right.
that the Maya record a Maya Star War. This is archaeologists talking, not myself. I'm not making any of this up. You can find this in books that talk about the Maya history and things of this little place called Naranjo. And to make a long story short, they had two time periods that they had conflict with with Mars, which was I think it was 896,000 years ago, and then another disturbance between these two planets was about 22,000 years ago. And this is all in Maya writings. And the Maya were very studious about their exploration of time, the past, the future. So they were really good timekeepers, and all this stuff was recorded. Now, I'm not saying that the Maya had anything to do with these wars, but they were timekeepers, and they were keeping records of this that somebody had told them about.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's the
interesting.
scenario for the whole surface that we're going to be looking at here.
Yeah. No, that's a great way
A
to
little
put it.
teaser of the background.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because I recall hearing a theory about there's supposedly some type of material that's been left over on Mars that suggests that they went through some type of nuclear type of bombing. And I don't remember what scientists came up with that theory, but I remember
That
recalling
was,
that.
that was Dr. Brandenburg. He's a member
Okay.
of the Society for Planetary SETI Research. He's a scientist. He has a couple of science papers written about this. He
hmm
detected, or had evidence, which he got through NASA's own reports,
hmm
that going back to the Mariner 9 spacecraft, they actually found, because the Mariner 9 not only took some of the first pictures of Mars, which we're going to talk about with the Sagan pyramids that were found
hmm
in Elysium, that when they had the spacecraft going up there to take pictures, it also had these science instruments on board that could sniff the air in the atmosphere. And surprisingly, they found some xenon 129, which is a nuclear event signature. Uh,
hmm
Scientists started paying attention to this element during the time we were doing all the nuclear tests
hmm
during the 50s with the mad rush to get the atomic bomb. And
Right.
when these explosions on Earth happened, the areas that this happened, and we had high levels of xenon 129, which basically scientifically that's a signature for nuclear detonations. And
Detonation.
they found this in the atmosphere on Mars during the Mariner 9. The same things were found with the Viking 1 and 2 when the spacecraft went around. They also had atmospheric testing that what they were doing. So NASA's been aware that there was some type of nuclear event all the way back to the Viking and Mariner 9.
Mm.
And these readings were verified in later spacecraft that went out there with some of the other satellites that went around. They also tested the atmosphere. So Dr. Brandenburg, researching this stuff through the NASA, using NASA's own information, that he found that there was overwhelming evidence of xenon 129 on the surface of Mars in the atmosphere. And which the only way you could get that, it's very small particles. You can get readings, they happen naturally through, I think, volcanism and things like that. But I'm not a scientist. But the levels that they were finding was really the only way you would detect these would be through massive destruction with nuclear weapons. And Brandenburg, he has a couple books about this. He also did some science papers. And his conclusion is that there was some type of massive war or detonations that happened on Mars. And he estimates about 1 million years ago. Now, the interesting thing with that...
And excuse me for interrupting, but that's the same thing as the Star War that we're talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, the Maya talked about this conflict between Earth and Mars. They called Mars was called Sixth Earth Place. Okay. That's what the Maya called it. And this was Mars. Mars was also represented as the Zip monster, which was like a dragon type of creature that had a nose that went back on itself. It was a very scary looking thing. And so all these symbols of Mars, and I go through it in the book about all this evidence that this conflict between Earth and Mars happened. And the Maya recorded this and these conflicts that were going on, which was, like I said, almost 1 million years ago. And then the second conflict was about 22,000 years ago.
So much more recent.
This is all verified again through Brandenburg's research. And there was this a CIA agent that did this remote viewing during the, I think the early 1980s. I can't remember his name right now. But he also talked about going through these trances and doing the remote viewing that him and his team, they said there was some type of nuclear war that went on Mars 1 million years ago. So you have three
different sources, right?
3 separate sources talking about this idea about this event happening on Mars. Now, whoever was on Mars, since we're starting off on this portion of research,
yes,
getting right into it.
That's right.
My theory is that Mars was occupied by extraterrestrials.
Okay.
We have to go back to the solar system when it was first evolving and life was forming on Earth. And we all know about the asteroid belt, which is this anomaly that we have. Supposedly all the planets were created with all these particles from the Big Bang all coming together and making these planets and moons. But for some reasons, these particles and these rocks did not form a planet in between Mars and Jupiter. Well, the theory that a lot of other scientists have, especially Dr. Tom Van Franlin, he's also a member of the Society for Planetary SETI Research. He wrote a whole book on this. He's one of the prominent scientists that talked about this idea of a planet that existed between Jupiter and Mars that blew up. There's a lot of evidence for this. And I guess scientists, the mainstream science, they're a little hesitant to talk about this because you don't want school kids to know planets can blow up. Did it blow up naturally? Right. Some kind of core problem of the planet, and it just got wacky. And, like the old story about Superman where he had to leave because their planet was going to blow up.
Right.
Very interesting, all these little stories. Darth Vader blowing up planets. So we have a lot of this in sci-fi, but, we can't talk about this with actual science where it could have happened. And there seems to be all this evidence that this planet blew up. And when this planet blew up, this is what killed the dinosaurs. All the planets, when the planet X blew up, whatever you want to call it, the planets moved forward. Mercury, whatever was on Mercury, burned up. Venus, the civilization, if there was one there, burned up. We came closer to the sun. The Earth, you got more gravity. That's what killed the dinosaurs. It wasn't just this one meteor hitting in the Yucatan and causing this global problem that killed just the dinosaurs. The reason dinosaurs, and there's actual real scientists that talk about this. Your audience out there can check the internet about the whole problem with gravity. And this scenario where this planet blows up, the planets move in. This is what killed the dinosaurs. So all the dinosaurs couldn't exist. If you built a dinosaur today, like a brontosaurus, it couldn't stand up. These things are two football fields long. I mean, they could not stand up today. There was more oxygen in the air during this period also, which makes things bigger. It's I'm getting out of my league here.
Yeah, no, you're right. I understand what you're saying. I'm following what
So we have this scenario going on, and the hominins advance on Earth. You have the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal. So this breakaway culture comes into our solar system from somewhere else in a galaxy far, far away. They come here. They see this beautiful Earth, this paradise. They set up camp here, and kind of like the Anunnaki story, where they take the available beast that's here, the humanoid types, and they through genetic engineering make us as workers. And to protect themselves from whoever they're hiding from, they set up a base on the moon, and they set up a guardian outpost on Mars. So they set up little colonies. So if this whoever they're hiding from comes to our solar system, they could fight them out. Like, George Bush said, it's better to fight them over there than over here. The same idea. So you fight them on the moon. The moon's like the last resort before they get too close to us. And I think that's why these structures were built on Mars. These were outposts. These were little cities that were out there to protect Earth. Okay. And they made us to work for them. We were slaves. They were making us do all kinds of things. And so at one point, as time passed, whoever they were hiding from, either the culture they were running away from or some other extraterrestrial culture, came into our solar system and attacked. They had battles on Mars. They destroyed the moon, and they destroyed whatever culture was here on Earth. There's big battles, and they eventually left because they were found out. So now we have ruins on Mars, everything destroyed on the moon. The culture that was here, they left because they've been found out. And of course, because they used the natural Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, we're a little unruly. So they're probably happy to get away from us. Right. So they leave, and then we eventually become a spacefaring culture. We go to the moon, we find ruins. We go to Mars, find ruins. We also set up a base. Like Elon Musk, he wants to go to Mars and set up colonies. Right. Now, the second episode of these stories with the Maya talk about, the million years ago, and then the 22,000 years. I'm thinking that's when the original Earth culture that was derived from this culture, this runaway culture that I call that came here. They go to the moon. They set up bases on the moon again. History repeats itself, and possibly they go to Mars. That now we have new structures. That's where we're finding all these newer formations that look like, there's nothing wrong with these. Now, those are probably the newer things that were constructed through the second occupation of Mars. Then the scenario is, because there's nobody there now, something happened. So it's probably like the American Revolution, where we said, hey, you're not telling us what to do on Mars. We're going to have our own planet. So we had a civil war. Right. It makes sense. Right. It's kind of like the Martian Chronicles. A similar thing happened in that movie, where they had the colonies and they wanted to run their own lives. And it was probably because of minerals, and there was all kinds of conflicts, I'm sure. And that didn't end well. And then, of course, humans forget. That could have been the mythology about Atlantis, this great civilization that was here. So we lose all of this history, and we're right back to where we were before, where we're starting to want to colonize the moon. We want to colonize Mars. But now we have all this stuff up there, and our governments are saying, hey, we can't be building anything on the moon because there's all this, there's ruins up there. We can't have penthouses and people looking out on the balcony and saying, hey, Mom, what's that over there? That looks like
what's that big building over there? Yeah,
what's that big ruined building over there? It looks like it was blown up. So this is the dilemma we're at, and I think a lot of the evidence for this is in my book, and there's structures everywhere, and little areas which have a whole complex of structures, and then there's just nothing but Martian geology, and then you find another little settlement. There's settlements all over the place, and a lot of them. I'm finding, and other researchers that do this, they're usually either 30 or 40 degrees north and south of the equator. So it's that hot spot all around the planet, which is pretty interesting.
That is. I mean,
and a lot of them, which we'll see when I start the PowerPoint, I have a MOLA map which shows the elevations of the surface of Mars that NASA produced. And a lot of these blue areas are all the lower areas. That's where the ocean would be. And all these complexes and these little settlements that I'm finding with all these structures that seem to be all in one area are all along the shoreline.
Makes
Nothing's
sense.
out in the ocean.
Right. It makes sense
Odd,
though if you
right?
really think about it though. Yeah, it is odd. It is odd. I mean, there's so many different examples of this that you brought up in the book, and you know let me ask you this: and what's probably one of the most compelling formations that you found out there that you say, hey, listen, this is the one that I think that it's head and shoulders above all of those. What's that one piece of evidence? That one photograph? What is it?
Well, when I put this book together, when it was picked up by Barron Company, the original book was a lot different than what I put out as the current book that I have, the first edition of the Architects of Mars. And what the publisher wanted me to put the best that I had in this book,
Mm-hmm.
because he said if this doesn't sell, there may not be a second one. So
Spoken like a
so
true publisher.
basically, right. So basically, this book is chock full of smoking guns. I mean, every
Yeah,
chapter you looked at it, it's overwhelming evidence of structures on the planet. I mean, I got like
absolutely.
the best, and I have like 5 more books of the best stuff, but
Do you really? Yeah.
hopefully they're coming down. Oh, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've just been collecting this stuff, and
Wow, George.
it's just there's so much evidence. But the big two in this book are probably the parrot geoglyph, which
Mm-hmm.
has 22 points of anatomical correctness, and then
Mm-hmm.
I have the keyhole,
The
which
keyhole.
is
Yeah.
just screams of artificiality. So,
Yeah.
and we had science papers written on those also, and so I think those are the big two. If anybody that reads the book isn't convinced by just those two structures, then they're really not being honest. I don't think. But
Yeah. I agree
I
with
think
you.
this book just is over the top.
I
And I
agree.
put it out. I'm telling
No, I agree with you 100%. Because some of these photos, I was like, I've seen some photos of things on Mars before. You run into them every once in a while, but these are different. These hit a lot more differently. They're a lot more structured, as you would put it, I would say. Um, is there any common thread between all these photos, or are these structures? I mean, I know there's one theory about, okay, they're getting this architecture that we've even have here in on Earth. I mean, that you can kind of see over there. Is there one common thread between all these structures?
you. Yeah, it's all geometry. And Carl Sagan said, "Intelligent life on Earth
Hmm.
reveals itself through the geometry and regularity of its construction." Which
Hmm.
that was his long-winded way of saying, if it's symmetrical and geometric, nature does not make that.
Right.
You can find oddly shaped geometry, but these things that you saw in the book, they're all symmetrical. They're geometric. You'd have to go really way out of your way to try to explain how these were made naturally, and
Hmm.
we do that with our science papers. With my good friend William Saunders, who's a geomorphologist up in Canada, and we had Michael Dale, who was a geologist that co-wrote a lot of these papers with us, and
Hmm.
they go out of their way to figure out what could do this naturally,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
there's just no mechanism that could make these things, which if there you can come up with geological mechanisms that can do this, through
Hmm.
wind, water, erosion, all this kind but whatever is coming in to make a line would destroy whatever's next to it. You have a reaction from what that's doing,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
especially with this keyhole, to get those straight lines of the
The
exclamation
narrowing. Yeah, the
top
narrowing. Yeah, the
coming down, it would
narrowing.
destroy the circle at the bottom. I mean, how does
Right.
that maintain itself? It doesn't make any sense. It's really difficult to explain
Yeah.
naturally. And then you come to the only conclusion that probably somebody made this.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the if we could, to the PowerPoint. I think this is going to be a good segue to that, because I want to share with the audience these photos and some of the examples that you bring in here into the book.
Okay, there it is. Okay. All right.
All right.
Are you with me?
I am with you, my friend. Let's get
This
down.
is this is the book, "The Great Architects of Mars: Evidence for the Lost Civilizations." See, there's an S on that. That's plural
Mm-hmm.
on Mars. So, a lot of these complexes that we're finding may have been done by different great architects. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that these structures were all built by one culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of occupation on Mars. Mars was a very popular place, and a lot of conflict, a lot of battles, I'm sure. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these structures show evidence of being partially destroyed. The famous D&M pyramid at Cydonia. the five-sided pyramid. The eastern side's damaged. I mean, it was hit with something.
Right.
And I mean, it's not a perfectly five-sided pyramid. The one side, the one of its faces, they call, is partially damaged. So something hit it. So that's more evidence of conflict. And you know, as above, so below. And of course, our Pentagon was hit on one side. So that's kind of weird.
Uh-oh. You're going down some rabbit holes there, George.
All right. The book starts out talking about the history of aerial photography, because that's what we're looking at on Mars is, space aerial photography that's going over the planet. So just to give the reader and the audience here an idea of what we're looking at, this is an area on Earth. This is like similar to the Mars MOLA maps. All this blue area, that's the low, that would be the oceans. And of course, you got the higher elevation is brown. This is Xi'an, China. This is in China. Are you all with me? The little dot there? That's China. Now, during World War II, a pilot had gone off course and went in further into China than he was supposed to be. And he looked out his window, and of course, he had a camera with him for some reason. And he took this photograph. This is the famous White Pyramid that was in China. You notice it's got a nice flat top here.
Yep.
And it appears to be this very glistening white faced pyramid. Now, this picture was taken in 1947 after the war. When he came back, it was published in the New York Times. It was a big mystery. China said, no, we have no pyramids. So it became, a lot of people thought it was a hoax, but where is this picture taken? This is all made up. And this was, his picture was put in a lot of ancient mystery books and things like that. So it was basically forgotten until the advent of Google Earth. Now, Google Earth, when it started mapping the planet, it took a lot of pictures in China that I don't think they knew about until they were published. And this is the same area where this pyramid is in China. And you see there's hundreds of these pyramids there. They're all four-sided. Look at these things. They're beautiful. And they're all covered up with shrubbery. They put dirt over. They tried to hide them. And if these color pictures, they look like there's, trees and shrubberies over these. So they're intentionally, partially buried and concealed. But you can obviously see these are pyramids, and they're all over the place. NASA, or not NASA, Freudian slip there. China said for years they never had these. Only recently, I think in the 1990s, or I'm sorry, in the mid 2000s, after these Google Earth images were released, they said, yes, we do have pyramids. They were burial tombs for the elite, which we think, or myself and other researchers, these were probably built before the Chinese came in there.
Yeah.
But being a communist country and a communist government, they can't ever admit that there was another culture more advanced than them. They are the top dog. And, we made these before, you knew about it. So there's a lot of these over there. And so it's just showing that, you find things in pictures and, you may not find resolution to it for years later. And this idea of covering up pyramids, this is one of the pyramids at Teotihuacan in Mexico. And when it was originally found in the 1900s, it was basically similar to what we see with the Chinese pyramids. They were all covered over with dirt and had trees growing on them. And it looks like a mountain. Now, what we find is the Maya, one of the reasons they made pyramids was to mimic the mountains that were made by the gods. So they were trying to make their own mountains. So they were trying to make these to look like mountains.
I've never heard that explanation for that. That's interesting.
Well, the interesting thing about that, in 2014, this guy Douglas Van Koch, he got a bunch of scientists together from NASA, SETI, archaeologists, anthropologists, kind of like the old Brookings Institute, where they did the study back in the 50s about what do we do if we find artifacts on another planet? Right. Well, this study was, can we find artifacts on another planet? And they're surprisingly, his conclusion was scientists may find it very difficult to find evidence of structures on another planet.
Mhm.
Now, considering if you have a culture that's building pyramids and then they're left there for millennium, they get covered with dust, dirt, ice on another planet, they may be hard to see. So
Mhm.
this basically verifies that it's kind of difficult for scientists, your geologist and your physicist, to actually identify structures when they're all looking for geology.
Mhm.
So this is a very important book, I thought. Now, the other thing about obscuring what we're looking at, uh, the scientists got together, at NASA, deciding if they're going to build arcologies or habitats or domes, to have these, like Elon Musk wants to go to Mars and build these colonies.
Mhm.
How are we going to protect the inhabitants from the radiation of Mars? Well, their first um, recommendation was to cover them up with dirt. So if you were
Mhm.
flying over, you'd see these little domes that look like a natural round mound dome that was covered with dirt. You wouldn't even
Right.
know there were people living in it. And I think we're seeing a lot of those things on Mars that were ancient inhabitants, ancient habitats, arcologies or domes or whatever you want to call them, that have just been covered up and they look like little round mounds, just
Mhm.
like American Indians made these circular mounds. So
Yes, they
you
have.
can see the dilemma of looking at potential artifacts that are obscured with the natural terrain.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying to show here in the beginning.
Makes sense.
So now we're moving on to the first chapter of the book talks about Carl Sagan's famous pyramids, and that's
Mhm.
right over here. This little dot. Now you see the Mola map. This was all the old Paleo Ocean, they call it, on Mars. This is where all the water was. This is water. There's water here. There's all water here coming in through here. So you'll see that Elysium is on higher ground, and
Mhm.
it's if our pictures weren't there, they're not far from water.
Right.
So this is where Elysium is. Cydonia is right over here, right on the shoreline, the famous Cydonia area of Mars. That's way
Mhm.
over here. But again, they're all the stuff we're going to look at tonight is all in this hot spot, or the sweet spot here at 30 to 40 degrees above the
Above
equator.
the equator. Right. Okay.
This is the original one of the strips that the Mariner 9 took. Now, the Mariner 9 pictures are very high contrast, as you can see, very light and dark. You didn't have a lot of
Mhm.
gray tones. And
Right.
it really accentuates the sharp angles of these pyramids. You see that?
Mhm.
And that's what caught the eye of Carl Sagan when he had reviewed some of these pictures. Now, most people don't know that they all think Carl Sagan found these pyramids. These pyramids were actually first found by Mac Gibson. He was a
Mm.
scientist. And he did a paper way before um, Sagan called Pyramidal Structures on Mars. So the scientific community, Carl Sagan, Gibson, they were all taking a very serious look at the idea of possibly finding structures on Mars.
Mhm.
This was all legitimate study until the face on Mars, and then everything fell apart. So this is
Mm.
pre-face on Mars,
Okay.
and this was published in Icarus Journal. The Icarus, that's a highbrow, very prestigious journal. So most people don't know about that, but he did this in 1974. Carl Sagan really didn't go public with his pyramids on Mars until 1980 on his Cosmo program and in his book.
Mhm.
And, he thought these really deserved to be looked at. They were very interesting.
Yeah. He was right.
Now, this pyramid here, that's that three-sided pyramid that we saw in the Mariner 9 image, the high contrast. Uh, Carl Sagan only got to see the Viking images of the Elysium pyramid, and they were awful. They're in the book. You can see it
Mhm.
very blurry. So he never got any confirmation. All he got was that the newer picture looked worse. So he died in 1996. These images were taken in the early 2000s. He never got to see any of these higher resolution images of these. The second pyramid is a classic three-sided pyramid, and he
Yep, you
never
can
got
see
to
it.
see any of them. So he never really had resolution with this, which is pretty sad.
It's amazing how, let me jump in real quick, George. It's amazing
Sure.
how, if you go back to that prior slide, um, how defined the the
Oh yeah,
sides are.
these lines, yeah. And we have
Yeah.
multiple pictures of these that we can see that the sunrise and set, so we can see how three-dimensional all these are with different. We have pictures where this is nice and bright, So we have there's 8 to 15 pictures of this area.
Mm.
The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter CTX camera took dozens of pictures of this area.
Another question I had for you before we move
Sure.
on is how big is this structure? Like if we were to talk about it in our terms, I mean, are we talking about hundreds of feet? Are we talking about what kind of scale are we talking here?
Um, these are probably half a mile.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything on Mars is big,
Okay. Okay.
like Texas.
Okay,
Everything on Mars is big. Yes, everything
that's
is pretty big.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, you have the lower gravity, so you're able
Right.
to build things big.
Yeah, and the atmosphere is completely different too. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. All right.
And these are probably arcologies. There's probably buildings and rooms and as Richard Hoagland used to say, there's libraries. This is what we want to
Mm-hmm.
get.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what's inside these.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just these beautiful pyramids covered over with dust and ice, for millennia. And they're so perfect that you can still see them with all that covering of ice and dirt and
That's the
dust.
crazy part, right? That's what I'm
Right?
saying. If you would
That's
really
the
think about it, they would have been like a ball. If it, in most
mhm,
cases, maybe like a mound. You know what I mean? And not just
right.
still have those defined lines like that. That's
Yeah.
the crazy.
So these were probably very sharp, probably cut your finger. They were so meticulous. And then
Mhm.
over the years, because being abandoned, they just got covered with
Yep.
this dust and ice. And NASA scientists will say, "Oh, this is just a mound that's covered with ice and dirt." Oh yeah, well, we saw the Teotihuacan pyramids; they're covered with dirt and trees. I mean,
Mhm. Right. It's the same thing, right?
same thing, man. Now the Sagan pyramids aren't alone. These are two other five-sided pyramids that are in the same area, and you saw these in the book. Now,
Yes.
what I call this is a star shield. It's a five-pointed uh, pyramidal structure, the
Hmm.
pentagonal structure. And then we have this one here. It's almost the same thing, but it's about half the size. I call this the mini me. It's the Star Shield Junior.
Yeah.
And it's just looking at these two, not even thinking about the two three-sided pyramids we just looked at. These are almost identical. They look like they were sculpted with these sharp angles and stuff. And how do you have something naturally formed like this exotic five-pointed star formation that are almost identical? One's twice as big as the other. They're pretty
Yeah.
amazing,
It is
and they
amazing.
almost look identical to this the fort in Uruguay, the Santa Teresa. It's got the
Oh,
same little point at the top, and you
yeah.
can imagine this whole fort area just covered with dirt and dust, and it would look just like this.
Yeah. If you turned that picture just a little bit like that, you would have
Yeah,
that
it's just,
just like that.
it's the
Yeah.
same template.
Right. Right.
Now, the
Huh.
other odd thing I noticed with these, I'm sure you saw in the book, these curved corners.
Yeah. Like
You
almost like
see, they
it's almost like a
follow,
nautilus almost.
but they follow the whole circular pattern of the little areas that they're in. I mean, all the
Right.
structures are aligned. I also discussed the alignment. So we not only have structures that are highly geometric, symmetrical, they also are aligned with their surrounding structures, which is, you can't make this stuff up.
That's unusual. Yeah. That you don't. Right. It's not
It's very
unnatural.
unusual. It's not natural. Uh, Now we're moving over to Nepenthes,
Okay.
another Greek name, Nepenthes. This is we were right over here with Elysium.
Hmm.
Now we're moving over here to nice shoreline property,
Nice.
beautiful area to set up camp. So this is our next little area. Here's another star fort. Now we talked
Oh,
about all
look at that.
these wars going on Mars, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to have wars and you're going to have an outpost and you're going to have the guardians to watch it, you want to set your structures up to be military. This is your typical star fort. These were very popular in the Civil War during North and South. They were building these over in France also, all
Hmm.
over Europe. Uh, these are all defensive structures.
Right.
That's why they're built, because they have these bastions, all this protection. And
Hmm.
notice this has this weird flat edge here, almost the same thing
So
we
does
have
that
here.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Now this is on, as above, so below.
Hmm.
These are all the little headquarters, and where you have your ammo depot and all that stuff. The same thing here with the little barracks and all this stuff. That little mound there is probably where there's as Hoagland would say, the library and all the science is hidden there. But they're almost
Even
identical.
the
It's like,
even the indentations of where in between the corners,
yeah,
they're almost exactly alike. It's
yeah.
amazing.
It's like doppelganger.
Yeah, it is.
It's like somebody that saw these. It's like a family genetic tradition that this is in our DNA to make these structures. The
Hmm.
same culture that we're building these on Mars are building these on Earth.
On Earth, yeah.
And this is the sacred geometry. This is what the builders do. The famous, probably connected to the Freemasons.
The
This is
Mason. I
all
was
the
just about to say the
yeah,
Masons. Yeah.
right. The sacred design. This is how you build a fort.
Yeah. Why do you think, George, this is not pushed into the mainstream media as far as scientific community is concerned?
This work here.
Yes.
I'm trying.
No, I know you're trying, but I
Well,
mean,
I think after being on Dark Fringe program, I think the door
I
is wide
hope.
open after this.
I hope. I hope. Listen, I mean, because I mean, you talk about Carl Sagan's been talking about it since the 80s. The prior gentleman, Mr. Mack, he's been doing it since the 70s. I mean, and still we're trying to get this into mainstream media. I mean, is there always like a pushback to always new ideas when it comes to maybe our history about where we came from, who we are, things of that nature?
Well, the mainstream media, the scientific mainstream media, they're
Hmm.
very closed, and it's very. I've sent this stuff to all kinds of newspapers, just nothing. Uh,
Hmm.
Being a member of the Society for Planetary City Research, they're all scientists.
Hmm.
They're physicists and geologists and all kinds of things, and
Hmm.
they've published it probably in various science journals, probably 30 to 50 papers,
Hmm.
and the papers are published, but they don't get any. You don't see it in uh, the New York Times or any of the other
Hmm.
major papers. Nobody's talking about it. They're more interested in other, more cultural stuff.
Uh, yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, this is all very interesting. Yeah, I mean, especially this fort. I mean, this is almost identical. Identical.
Yeah, I had this picture. This isn't in the book. I have my drawing next to it.
Hmm.
This picture actually I found later, and I think when we do another, hopefully if it goes into second printing or whatever revised, I'll add this. This was actually this is a independent company that did a model of
Hmm.
the Fort Henry. So
So that's
it's
Fort
really
Henry right
great.
there on the right.
Yeah. Now the actual Fort Henry's is underneath water in Tennessee. It
Mm.
They had built a dam there in I don't know, the 70s or whatever, whenever the heck they built it, and the whole area is gone underwater. So the old Fort Henry, you can't access it now unless you have like scuba gear.
Wow, that's kind of weird. Could you imagine doing the expedition down there underwater?
Well, the other thing is, in the same area there were a lot of American Indian uh, areas, little
Hmm.
cities down there that were occupied by the American Indians that they were excavating, and they were like in a hurry to get it done before the dam was built. So God knows what's there.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, you got to hide this stuff.
You do, yeah. It always seems like that, even here on Earth, that we build on top of old stuff. We see that,
Yeah.
throughout history. We see all these sites that we excavate, and then we find out there's more, excuse my language, shit under it.
Well,
You know?
that's all the military mind. You
Ah,
come in, you conquer, and you build your stuff on top of their
on top
stuff to
of their
show the
stuff.
dominance. It's all dominance. Over in Israel, you have the when the Muslims came in and they took over Israel, they built the mosque there, the dome on the rock, and
Hmm.
that's right there with on top of the temple, the mound there. So
Yeah,
interesting. So
you're right.
that's what humans do. You come in, you take over. We have built cities this in Chicago. I think
Yeah,
there was an ancient American Indian complex there. They just built right over it. It's all
yeah,
gone.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Modern day Mexico, all throughout the main city there. There's ruins of the Aztecs all over the place, and eventually, every once in a while, they tear a building down and they put a new foundation. Oh, they find
Oh, they
another
found
mine, or
something.
they they find some more stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it goes
yeah,
on all, and the same thing's going on Mars. I mean, this
yeah.
here is another
That's what it seems like.
five-sided pyramid, the pentagonal pyramid, and
Hmm.
this is pretty amazing. Also, this is in the same area as that um, the Star Shield, or the what do I call that? Um, the last star formation we looked at.
Yes,
This is
yes,
the
yes.
same area. The starburst. That's what
Starburst. Right. Look at that.
Yeah, this is another interesting, highly geometric formation. This area is below all of that. We're going down the planet, not far. So this is all in the same area. The interesting thing about this is about a 3 mile, this is about 3 miles from here all the way down here.
Wow.
About 3 miles. Now, the interesting thing about this whole area is that a lot of these formations are on platforms. These are all, there's, I think, 4 of them, 4 different platforms that these are all on. And they're all highly geometric. They're squares, rectangles, triangles, circles. And what I did here is I just did outlines showing you how geometric all these things are. This is highly unusual.
Yeah, this looks like it could have been like an old temple that got blown to bits or something, you know?
Right. These are the ruins of a little city. And this is another structure here, which I didn't even, get involved in because there's all this other stuff here. And these things are just amazing. And this structure here just stands out because that's like, wow, that's really complex. Yeah. And that's this one here. I mean, look at the symmetry in that.
It's like almost something's buried there. Like, I don't know.
Well, a lot of people think this looks like a spaceship.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, it's got that. It's got like a beak here, but it's got the line that goes right down the middle. This one of the wings here appears to be broken. There's a little line that goes down, but this part's broken off. But and this whole thing here is very geometric, right next to it. So this stuff's everywhere.
It looks like another pyramid right next to it. That's what it looks like right there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is that whole thing. This one thing after another that it's very interesting.
Hmm. Do you think we're going to get more evidence as things get better as far as technology is concerned? You know, as the cameras get better, and
Well, these are pretty good. These are pretty high.
These are pretty good.
Yeah, these are very good pictures. This is the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. These are the CTX images. The CTX they take a lot of they're farther up, and what they do is they're supposed to be looking at this stuff to see if they want to zoom in on anything and take the high resolution images, but. This image here, if we go back to that's right down here. That's the structure here. And what I found interesting, this is an American Indian mound. It's the same thing. Circle with it's got the rod here.
Yeah, look at that.
And that's part of the Short Johnson Mound Group right there out in the Midwest. It's amazing. Again, showing the similarities with the construction.
Reminds me of the mounds like up in Ohio, the Serpent Mound. So have you seen those?
Oh, I've been to the Serpent Mound.
Have you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
beautiful.
Interesting.
Amazing.
Very interesting place.
And it's amazing that survived and it didn't get destroyed. A lot of there's just a fraction of these geoglyphs and mounds that are left in America. A lot of them have been destroyed. A lot of the ones in Ohio and Wisconsin's. And but thank God we had early researchers that went out and cataloged all these. So we have a lot of intensive maps of a lot of American Indian little cities and complexes that are totally gone. But we do have the original field work to look at.
Right. Yeah. So look at that. That's amazing.
Now this here is not far. This is I think to the east of what we were looking at before. This is the elongated hexagonal mound. And this one just has so much straight lines and geometry here. I have it all lined out here in the book. There's a little pyramid here that's exactly aligned with the base of it here. And the interesting thing here is that it has this this very geometric mound formation. It's got a mound in the center. Now this one on the far right, that's in Turkey. That's a mound with a city on top. These little buildings here, these are all like these Adobe type structures, all this stuff here.
Okay, so the one on the right here, that's not a hole in the middle. That's more of that's an elevation.
If you're having trouble, this is a mound that comes up. See how this comes up? It's not a hole. Yeah, this isn't a hole. Yeah, that's one thing with looking at these images. You have to be. That's why it's always great to have a crater next to it. See the crater?
Yes. Yeah, the crater helps.
Down, this goes up.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. And usually there's always a crater somewhere. So.
Yeah, no matter what picture, there's always a crater.
It'll let your eye adjust to what you're looking at. Yeah, this is like 3 levels. You have the base here. This is another level, and then you have the mound, which is even higher. And the same thing we have, and this is almost identical.
Yeah, no, it is exactly. It's exactly. It's amazing.
Now, this was taken with the Corona satellite camera in the 1960s. Yeah. I found this on the internet, and when I saw that, I just about fell out of my chair. It's like, oh my God.
You're like, yeah, I have a picture that looks
where have I
exactly
seen
like that
before? Oh, that's right. I saw that on Mars.
You think it's in our DNA as humans that we build things like this on Earth now that, maybe
Yeah.
that we've taken from our ancestors from so many years ago?
Yeah. Well, as Hank Williams Jr. said, it's a family tradition.
It's a family tradition. That's right. Yeah, because it seems like that it's a pretty good, it's a pretty good argument to say, hey, listen, what we did in Mars, we do on Earth
Yeah.
as well. And there's a lot of examples here that you're showing me, and that makes sense. It really does make sense.
Well, thanks. Now we're moving on to Libya Montes. That's right up.
Hmm.
Again, we're right on the shoreline here.
Hmm.
It's starting to make another pattern.
Yeah,
And you see
shoreline is it's
all
prime
in the sweet spot there.
real estate.
At prime real estate, 30 to 40 degrees above the equator. This is the famous keyhole structure.
This is a
very
cool one.
geometric. This is exquisite geometry right here.
That is, look at this.
Yep.
That is the most wild looking structure I've ever seen in my life. And is
and
that a hole at the bottom,
here.
right? Yeah, the straight lines. Yeah. Is
that
a hole in the
this
middle?
is the circle at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, we did a science paper on this also, which was published. This is part of the paper showing the internal geometry of how this is all put together. I mean, this is just, it's a beautiful work of art.
Do you think the different structure shapes signify a different use for the structure itself?
Well, yeah. Well, you have a dome and then you have a wedge.
Right.
So the science paper is called the wedge and dome.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's basically forms the keyhole.
The keyhole.
Yep.
Look at that.
And with Google Earth, we're able to find all of these similar keyhole structures all throughout Saudi Arabia. They don't really know who built these. These were supposedly built by the old men. That's part of the mythology. And really nobody knew much about these or even studied them until the advent of Google, because you could go on Google and people were finding these going, what is this? I mean, I'm sure you remember in the, 10, 20 years ago, they called them armchair archaeologists. They were finding stuff all over the place. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. That was a big fan of that. Yeah.
Yep. So this is just one of, there's a whole bunch of these keyhole structures there. This is in Kufan, Japan.
Oh, that's exactly it, dude.
Going back to Japan, where they have all the pyramids in China and Japan, they have all these keyhole structures that they said, oh, no, we built these. I don't think they built them. I think they were there when they came and occupied the island of Japan. And these are all over the place in Japan. Most people don't even know they're there. They don't even know that.
I've never heard of this in Japan. Yeah, I never heard of this.
Yeah, nobody's heard of these. These keyholes are everywhere. And this one almost looks identical.
I mean, that is exactly almost it.
What's going on here, Will?
I can't give you an answer. I can't. Are these like stargates or something, man? I mean,
well,
could that be it?
Supposedly, this is a burial tomb.
Oh, burial tomb. That's what they're saying.
But on Mars, this is probably, this is headquarters. There's all kinds of. And this is out. If you saw the book, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere,
this is
right?
Like a flat plain there, and then this is out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. No way. Yeah. There's no way in, no way out. It's just out of nowhere.
It's one of the outposts. When they're surveilling, waiting for those invaders to come in. This is just one of the areas.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
This is outpost B7913. That's what they
B7913. That's it. Wow. Yeah, and those that are listening to this, I definitely implore you to pick up this book. I mean, because just from the examples alone that you'll see here, I mean, and if you haven't seen or watched the episode tonight and just only heard this on audio, you definitely need to, pick up the book, because you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about, because these structures are just unexplainable. There's no reason for them to be there, in my opinion, unless there were some type of beings there building this stuff. Right?
I would think some great architects.
Yeah. Some great architects. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, even if you don't want to read the book, just looking at the pictures.
Yeah.
It's going to blow your mind. It's worth the admission itself.
That's exactly right. 100%.
Yeah, this was the subject of a science paper back in 2016, which was myself, William Saunders, who's a geomorphologist, and Michael Dale, who's a regular geologist. They were all part of this paper. And my good friend Jim Miller, who was very instrumental in a lot of the early research with Mars. So we were very happy to have this published. So, and again, the scientific community, it was crickets.
Right. That's the thing that pisses me off the most. I'm sorry to say it like that, but
well, that's why I'm on your show, William. I'm trying to get this done.
And I'm trying to get this out there too. I want more people
thanks.
to learn about this, and that's the biggest thing. And that's the number one reason why I do this podcast is just to share and spread the knowledge of these things that are not just talked about in mainstream. So I'm glad that you're on tonight to really bring light to this.
Well, thanks. And I do this to get the message out. I'm trying to expose people to this. I don't make a lot. Even if I sold a lot of books, I only get like $1 a book. I'm not going to make a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just talk to my wife. She's like, show me the
She'll
money.
tell you. She'll tell you.
So now we're moving. Now we're moving all the way on the other side of the planet. We're going inland next to some little areas of water. This is called Atlantis Chaos.
Okay.
This is what NASA calls it. And you might have seen some of this. This was all over the internet a couple years ago with all these structures. Look at the grid here. I'll let your eye adjust to this. But this whole area is just full of these. Look at these cubic areas. They're just all uniform. I mean, this is not natural.
Is that a big pyramid right there where your cursor's on? I mean, that's what it looks like.
This here,
bottom right-hand corner,
this is a side of a cliff.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah. This goes, the picture goes down, that goes down. This is just a big cliff here.
It looks like a bunch of little
This
houses.
is all built around that. This is like a mountainous area. Hey, it might be a pyramid. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't really look into this part of the image because of all this other good stuff over here.
Absolutely.
There's so much to look at, Will.
Yeah, look at all that. It looks like a complete huge just city, just a metropolis.
It's the ruins of a metropolis, exactly. Now, what's interesting in looking at this whole grid area, you notice this little domed structure here with the little peak, kind of like the Capitol Dome in DC.
Sure do.
Have that there. We have an old wood mill over here. It looks like an old barn. You got the back end. It looks like it's on a cliff right on the next area to this where this drops off. You got a little chimney here. You see the roof coming down?
Yeah.
So you have all these ruins, and you have a structure here. You have the dome here, and then we have this step pyramid over here.
Oh yeah.
Very much like with the Maya.
Yeah.
These are still standing, which is interesting. Now, if we go back to Dr. Brandenburg, who talked about these nuclear bombs being dropped in 2 different areas of Mars, one in the Sidonia area, one in the Utopia part of Mars. This probably got hit also. Now, if you know anything about, well, we'll get to that in a few minutes. This is a close-up of the area, this whole grid area that we're seeing here. This is just a close-up. I like these comparisons. This is Saudi Arabia. These are these little adobe houses that are all connected side by side. I don't know how people live like this, but this is the same area on Earth that have these roofs blown off because these have been all abandoned. They've just sat there and nobody's occupying these much anymore. They've just been set there to fall apart. But it looks almost like the same thing.
Identical.
Yeah. Yep.
Identical.
Now, this is showing some of the peaked roofs. See the peaks?
Yeah.
This is from Peru with the same thing with the roofs missing.
Machu Picchu, there you go.
Just showing side-by-side comparisons, which are very convincing. So again, and they're all of these cubicles on Mars, these compartmentalized structures, they're all about 20 by 20 feet each. They're square, about 20 by 20 feet. So that's about the size of them. They're the size of yeah. Now, these are those 3 structures. You got I call this the house, the wood mill, the barn. You got the dome here with the peak.
Right.
This is that step pyramid here, almost like an old temple, maybe something you'd see over in India. Very, very complex. Well, maybe they're standing because, when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, that public building in the center was the only building that remained, and that has a little dome also.
Little dome.
But everything else around that was flattened out, just like we see on Mars. Everything else has been wiped out, and that's the ground zero. The atomic explosion and everything under that basically stays intact. So that may be another evidence for why what we have here is this was an area that had this attack.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Makes 100% sense.
So I throw the Hiroshima in there.
Yeah. Wow.
Now below the Atlantis chaos area, this is still Atlantis chaos, but below that area that we call the Martian Atlantis, this is another area that has all of these structures that just the foundations are left. This is an arrow. You see the arrow?
Mm-hmm.
This is a triangle. This here is another triangle with rounded corners. It's like this is just the remains of foundations. These things have been destroyed. This here is a very complex area. It has these rectangles that are repeated. I'll show you later. You see how they're all these triangles?
Oh yeah. Okay.
You've
I
heard
see.
of
I see how
right?
I see how they overlay.
Yeah, fractals.
Fractals, right?
It's freaking amazing. The fractals are freaking amazing. And, this one here has a triangle with this bow tie shape. I mean, if you go back, you can actually see them. See, there's the bow tie.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just, they're covered with mud. The upper portions of the buildings are gone. These are just the foundations that we're looking at, but very geometric.
Yeah, you can
now
see
there's
all
5
exactly,
here.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you see exactly what you're talking about, like how it looks like it's been weathered over time, over hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, that's exactly what it looks like.
But if you got wind erosion coming here, it's going to knock that point off.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how do you get this straight line? And then how do you get all this stuff going on without affecting this? It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, right?
So there's 5 here. And then right below these are another set of 5. Oh, I'm sorry. These are the fractals that we were looking at. This is an example of American Indian house pits, the remains. These weren't found. These were out in Arizona. They were putting a new road in, and they, sometimes you have to take the old road off to put a new road in. When they do, sometimes it's too many layers. They got to take it all off. So they started digging out the road, and they had found the corner of this. So they had to stop all of the building that they were doing, putting this new road in, and they found all these. And these are the same idea. They're just one on top of another. The fractal design.
Do you know what was the purpose of them doing this that way? Or
I have no idea. I have no idea why you would build something. Why you would build something like that.
Right.
It's pretty bizarre, but yeah.
But no, it's the same thing. It's the same principle.
Yeah. And they've never found anything like this. Was accidentally found recently. This, I think, was in the early 2000s. But because they were putting a different road in this area, and this American Indian ruins are here.
Yeah.
And they, of course, had to shut everything down.
Well, you don't find anything inside until you start, ripping things apart, right? That's
right.
How it goes.
Well, like we were saying earlier, a lot of these things are found in Mexico. When they're tearing a building down, they want to put a new one in, and then they find there's part of a huge Aztec sculpture that's been buried for 2,000 years or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the other set of 5 structures. We got another pizza here. Here's a chevron. There's this big light bulb looking thing over here. There's this. This
looks like a pyramid that pyramid. It looks like a pyramid that got blown right from the middle.
Right. Well, we'll see what that looks like in the outline.
Oh.
This is a big bell.
Yeah.
Here we got the chevron, another triangle, and this weird looking shape here, and they're all discussed in the book. Now, the interesting thing, Will, about these 5 structures here, they all have common measurements. If you measure from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, it's all the same measurements.
That's weird.
And that's the same thing with the other 5.
That's weird.
They have a commonality with their measurements.
So does that mean maybe they were connected at one point?
No, I had my friend Jim Miller. He's also a builder. He's the one that helped us with some of the papers. His idea was that you have to have, it's all about measurements. It's a standardized measurements. If you go to Home Depot and you buy a 4x8, you buy 2x4, and all the houses you make are going to reflect
a standard size.
Sizes of what you're working with. Blocks
Gotcha.
are all so, what are they,
They're all
12 inches?
symmetric. Yeah, yeah. They all have
Yeah,
symmetry to
they're
each other.
all. It's so you have a standard measurement that you're starting with. So he's suggesting that if you're going to make any kind of structures, you have to have some kind of designated measurement, and that's
Hmm.
why these are all similar sizes.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
thought that was genius when he came up with that.
That is genius because I didn't even think about that. I thought maybe
No,
because they were
that's why I
probably
have. That's why
connected
Jim's my
it.
friend.
Yeah,
He's my good
and that's
friend.
a you know what, and that's an important part of this whole book too that I kind of want to highlight too, George, is that you really sought the help and knowledge of people that are outside the scope of what you know, and I think that's
Well,
very important.
well, thank you. And a lot of these, as you saw, Will, um, I didn't find these. These were found by
Hmm.
other people. I mean, I just didn't focus on things I found.
Right.
Most of the stuff in here was found by other people, and I'm just putting it all together and
Hmm.
getting deeper into it.
No, I get it.
And of course, everybody's acknowledged in the book who found these things when they found them, and so they're all acknowledged. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to steal anybody's thunder, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of thunder out there.
No, listen, you've put this together very well, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of
Well, thank
sense.
you. This is the second smoking gun. If you're looking for the two, this is the Parrot Formation, which is an RG basin. This is
Oh,
another
yes.
waterway. This is the port
Mm,
city here, where the Parrot Formation is.
right.
Most of the structures in the book deal with geometry and all kinds of building kind of structures. This is one of the things in the book that deals basically with a pictograph. This is a huge parrot-shaped formation. This is the newest image. This is the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. We waited, I don't know, 20 years to get this high resolution picture. NASA has about 5 pictures of this formation, and they're all the way from early blurry to really good, and then the Mars Global Surveyor image is really nice. And
Hmm.
but this is the nicest image ever. I think this was taken in 2023, and we've had numerous veterinarians look at this, especially when we first found it and we did our first science paper. We had 3 veterinarians, we had 2 geologists look at this, and they all found that the first book we put out, or the science paper, they found like 18 points of anatomical correctness. Once we got this higher resolution image, it's now up to 22 points of anatomical correctness. Now,
That's
the
okay.
listener out there,
Explain to the layman terms what that means because I know what it
well,
means and you know what it means, but
right. Well,
explain.
anatomical correctness means that everything is in the right position. The arm
Hmm.
is in the right place, the leg, the wing, the beak, the nose. It's not like distorted.
Right.
Everything is in the proper orientation.
Hmm.
And now, if you were to see like a rock that kind of looked like a frog or a rock that looked like a dog, or you're looking at clouds, normally they're just silhouettes. It
Hmm.
might look a bit like your grandmother's dog, but you're not going to have any second and tertiary features. No
Hmm.
eyelids, no eye, nose, mouth, nostrils in the nose and things, ears, hair. Normally, it's just a very generic silhouette. This and that's usually 3 to 4 points at the most. Looking at a cloud or a rock,
Hmm.
this has 22 points, which shows the leg down here. You got this part of the leg. You got the knee joint goes down. You got the
Hmm.
toes, the beak, the lower jaw. There's actually a tongue you can see. You can see the eye. This is the neckline. This is the
Hmm.
body. We got feather frets. This is like when you have you ever seen when you pull a feather out, it has that white part at the bottom.
Right.
That's part of the feather frets. These are very textured feathers that go up here. The tail goes down. This is my
Like a
drawing.
spine, like an iguana.
Yes, and
Yeah.
what we found, this was always a little blurry, this area, but what we've actually verified in this last image that NASA took was that the claw is up like what we are, the
I,
scenario is that this is a dead parrot, like Monty Python would say, what we have here is a dead parrot. And he's actually on his back and he's got his wing up here.
yeah.
And this is his lower leg, and this leg here is up in the air. It's like his claw is all distorted because he's in pain. He was killed.
Hmm.
Now, how do we know he was killed? He looks dead, but he's got an arrow in his beak, a dart. You see this little dart
Mm.
here?
Yeah.
Now, that's all very telling. Now, beginning with the back to 1976, we were talking about the Viking and the famous face on Mars image.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't really go into the face on Mars in this book. That was in our first two books. But the face on Mars has a direct correlation with iconography of Mesoamerica, the two-faced scenario type of artwork, where we have human and feline. So everything we were finding on Mars seemed to have a direct correlation with the artwork of Mesoamerica. Not only the artwork, but mythology. And that's in our first two books that my co-author William Saunders and I did. This book here, The Great Architects, this is my solo book. I went on a solo album here on this one. But and if you follow those books, you'll see that seems to be this pattern of all this Mesoamerican connection with the artwork. We're not saying the Maya and the Aztec were on Mars, but whoever bestowed all of this artwork and ideas to them had something to do with what's on Mars. Now, this we believe is the principal bird deity, which is part of Maya mythology, which goes back to the Popol Vuh. That's basically the Maya Bible. Talks about when the gods of creation make the earth, and one of the first creatures they make is the birds. They make birds and deer. The birds take care of the heavens, and the deer take care of the fields and eat the foliage. And they were the first two animals. And one of the birds they had, he's also known as Seven Macaw, because he's a macaw parrot. He's the principal bird deity. He was one of the major gods in the early times. But he was devious. He was a bad boy, the principal bird deity. What he did was he stole the sun during the time of creation when things were looking good, and then all of a sudden he goes up and he takes the sun and hides it. And he used to like to sit up in the world tree, which is at the center of the earth. They had this huge tree. You've heard about the world tree? And he was sitting on top of the world tree, and the two hero twins, which were major characters in the creation story, they go hunting for the principal bird deity to get the sun back. They see him sitting up in the world tree, and they use their blow darts and they shoot him in the beak right here.
Just like this.
That's a blow dart right in his beak. And they kill him, and he falls down to earth. This is him on the ground dead with his foot here in agony.
Yeah.
And they get the sun back and everything. It's a happy ending. Now, this whole idea of birds stealing the sun, you find this in American Indian mythology, except it's a crow. The crow steals the sun, he puts it in a box, and there's a whole thing about the twins trying to retrieve it and all. It's just a similar story. And so this is the principal bird deity, also known as Seven Macaw. His reference to Seven Macaw is a reference to the Big Dipper, the seven stars of the Big Dipper. That was his celestial image, was in the sky. So a lot of the Maya gods had all this complex
backstory,
numerous revelations about their past and their connections. It wasn't just a simple god with one little story. Right. A lot of times there were 3 or 4 levels of what they were able to do, and so it was very complex. So this is the principal bird deity. We think that's who it is, and he's just a beautiful guy. And I think this is one of the most compelling pieces of evidence looking at pictographs. There's a lot of not only are there these geometric and highly symmetrical structures on Mars, there's also these pictographic images. The face on Mars is a little difficult for the average person to understand because it's a two-faced. It's not Frank Sinatra. It's not Elvis Presley. Actually, one half is like a humanoid, the other half is a feline, and
right.
other pictographs, and it's very complex. So you have to get people to understand there might be structures on Mars before you get involved with something as complex as the Cydonia face, which NASA has been very successful in, obscuring any interest in that over the years. But
that's interesting. Why?
But because they were so successful with that, and as we saw earlier, the scientists were actually interested in looking at the possibility of structures on Mars with, Sagan and Gibson. But after the face on Mars, nobody wants to even touch it. And I think that's one of the big problems. So, kudos to NASA. They're very successful.
There you go. They are.
This is just a close-up of the head. You can see the tongue here. That's the dart. This is the eye, and this is part of the neckline.
Okay.
If anybody out there is interested in buying the book, I'd suggest also getting the Kindle because the Kindle has all of the NASA high resolution images in it. You can blow them up and get up there and look in the parrot's face and look at the tongue, which you really can't do with the book. But the Kindle, you can blow everything up and zoom in and look at all of
Zoom
these.
in. Yeah.
Now, the reason at this point I have the whole concept of pareidolia, of course, all the scientists that say that, you're looking at the face on Mars or even this parrot, it's pareidolia. You're just thinking you see this. Now, this whole idea of pareidolia, this is a major problem with any kind of research on the planet, because even these geometric structures, critics are saying, "Oh, you just think you're seeing a five-sided pyramid." Right. So, what the research that I found, there was a guy, I think his name was Stephen. He had done an article in the Skeptical Inquirer back in 1994, and this was before they got the higher resolution images of the face on Mars. He was basically doing NASA a favor by trying to discredit any interest in the face on Mars. And he said that the people were just seeing faces everywhere. That's the natural human condition, that when we're children, you see your mother and father's faces. We're always looking at faces, and it's a defensive thing because you're in the wild. You want to make sure you see a tiger in the woods, and that's a face. And it's just a natural, we see things and we kind of anthropomorphize them. You look at like a faucet in your kitchen might look like a face with the two eyes and the nose is the faucet handle.
I know exactly what you're talking about. In the paranormal world, which I'm very familiar with myself. When they take photographic evidence of maybe an area that may be haunted, they talk about pareidolia all the time. That's one of the most hottest topics. Is, oh, you're finding faces, but yeah, if there's a face in the middle of somewhere where there shouldn't be a face, and
right, well,
But,
if you're seeing a face, why am I seeing a face? It's there,
right?
But no, you're just seeing things. Well, where did this come from? This came from a journal of mental science. This is where Steve got this idea. This was from 1868, one of the only references to the word pareidolia. This is how far back this goes. And pareidolia was a mental disorder. These are people that saw faces everywhere on the walls. They would be chasing them down the street. They'd see faces everywhere. It was a mental disorder. So and it was called pareidolia. And he took that word and used it to diminish any interest in the face on Mars. That if you were we see faces everywhere, so you're really not seeing a face on Mars.
Right.
And that kind of ended any kind of real research, because people, and they use this today, that the word's thrown around all the time.
All the time.
So that's where the word comes from. It's a very old word. It was used in a journal for a mental.
So I can blame C.L. Robertson for this, huh? Let's see what I got about.
That's right. He's the guy. Back to the parrot. This is a similar posture of a parrot with the wing up. This is an American Indian Hopewell copper plaque, just showing the common, and there's his feet down here. But it just shows that the common idea of the same idea with the pictograph that we're seeing on Mars. This is a city, actually. This is one of the Quiché Maya, one of the earliest Maya cities that was built. This is Yucatán City, and it's shaped just like a parrot. We have the head here. This is the body. There's the tail. The lower body comes down here, and there's the upper wing. So that's just shows that, and they did this in Peru. A lot of Peruvian cultures, they built buildings that look like birds, or they look like llamas and things like that. So from above, they took on this pictographic idea. So.
And that was, and to kind of like hit this home, that was the methodology behind that was to basically show the gods above what they were doing here on Earth, correct?
Kind of. And what I found, a lot of these complexes that are in the book, very nearby, there's also these pictographic images. And these are kind of like markers that I think they're put on the planet, that when you're flying over and you go, oh, there's that parrot, we know what's around there. Or you see this other pictograph, and then there's a city next to that. So I think that's the idea. These pictographs were used for identifying the area where these different cities were. And
Gotcha.
we find a lot of these complexes, and there's always some type of pictographic image in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The parrot geoglyph was featured in the 2011 issue of the Journal of Scientific Exploration, and then the newest image with the high-rise image was in 2022.
Wow.
So
all this stuff that we're talking about, they actually finally put it in the Journal of Scientific Exploration. Look at that.
Yeah, I got published in there twice with the parrot, but that and $4, I guess I could get a small coffee.
Amazing.
The first time we were in the journal with the parrot, it was actually featured on the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
Wow.
That summer.
Out of all publications, the Wall Street Journal, huh?
Yep. Well, they were doing a special on Mars anomalies and stuff, but it's under the fold on the front page. So yeah, we were in the Wall Street Journal. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the parrot one is definitely one of the most compelling, I would say, if not the most compelling, just because of the sheer anatomically correct, points of it being a parrot. I mean, it's there's no other way to really kind of look at it. I mean, once you point it out, it is what it is.
And if you did read the book, you'll know that above the parrot is all the city,
right?
Where all the other buildings and some. It's not just the parrot. There's stuff all over the place. It never ends.
It never ends. It never ends. It never ends.
Earlier we talked about the Maya Star War, about Naranjo and Mars. I got all this information from Simon Martin. He wrote this book back in 2000 called The Chronicles of Maya Kings and Queens. And in one of the chapters, he talks about the Naranjo complex. And that's where if the readers or listeners out there want to go pick up this book, order it from Amazon or borrow it from your library, there's a whole chapter in there. This is where I got all my information about this whole thing about Six Earth Place, which is Mars, and all the conflict that was going on. All this stuff was derived from Simon Martin. Simon Martin, he works for the University of Pennsylvania. He's a well-respected archaeologist, and he's a scholar. He's like the top man in archaeology and all his readings of Maya hieroglyphics. So that's where all that information comes from. It's not like some crazy guy out in Idaho.
Well, no, obviously you're sourcing your information from very high levels of yeah. No, I get it. Absolutely.
This shows what the Star War glyph is. Again, this is archaeologists talking, not me. This is the Six Earth Place, which is a reference to Mars. This is a bar, means 5, and the dot is 1. So this is 6, and this is the Earth symbol. So this is the Six Earth Place. The patron god of Naranjo was a zip monster. Again, another reference to Mars. The Dresden Codex is full of all these references of counting the Mars ecliptical and its orbiting. And it's all related to the zip monster, which is Mars. This is the zip monster. See, his nose kind of goes back on itself. He kind of looks like a dragon or an alligator kind of thing. And here is a little axe. This is like a war symbol. See the axe here? That's what the archaeologists say. And that's the Mars beast with the war glyph. And this is in the Dresden Codex. This is all about Mars war. So
that's the Star War. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
Now, this is a large sculpture of a life-size almost sculpture of the zip monster. See his mouth here? A lot of the Maya and this artwork of this region is very complex, hard to see. Sometimes you have to adjust before you can see. Here's the eye. This is the tooth. He's got teeth here. There's a tooth. This is the lower jaw. He's got a little beard, little goatee there. He's a hipster. And he's got his nose goes back. That's his
hipster dragon.
He's a hipster dragon. And you notice he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots. These are that means 6. So this is zip monster.
This is the Mars.
Now the Maya counted the planets from the outside in. Because when you're coming into our solar system, heading your way past Mars, the moon, get to the Earth. Mars was the 6th planet. Earth is the seventh planet, Venus is the eighth planet, and so on. So that's how they numbered the planets, interestingly, just like the Sumerians. Same numbering system.
Same numbering system, right.
Right. So that's another reference to Mars, number 6, and of course the zip monster. This is in the Madrid Codex. These are the Mars beasts. See, these are human figures with Mars beast heads. See the Mars beast mask they're wearing? And they're coming down. These are called Earth bands up here, the sky bands. That means they're coming down from the celestial time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And you notice they have weapons. They're ready for war. He's got an axe.
And a torch.
This guy, he's got a torch.
Yeah.
So this is the invasion.
Yeah, because the torch guy would go first, and then that makes sense. Yeah.
This is at the Chichen Itza. This is the Temple of the Jaguar. You can't go in here anymore because these are pretty well faded. But back in the day, they had archaeologists go in there and they did all these drawings. These are bands and bands. This is all wars going on. These guys all have weapons and they got headdress and they're fighting and they're shooting weird like fire things you can see the smoky things coming out of there. This scroll here, that's a voice scroll coming out of the mouth, but he's got these weapons that have the same kind of fire coming out. Interesting thing about this, there's a sky captain up here. You see this guy up here, Captain Sun?
Yeah, I see him. Yeah.
In like a Stargate. You see the Stargate?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that movie, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, there's a sky captain up here. He's sitting on a jaguar, and there's a zip monster right here, mask. So all this symbolism is all this is a vehicle up here. He's in a spaceship. This is another image of the Captain's Sun inside a star disk. Mm-hmm. He's got a flaming weapon here. You see that?
Yep.
Just like you had the Mars beast coming down with the flames. Mm-hmm. Interesting. The four corners he has Mars beast mask. See the Mars beast?
I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm here.
I didn't even realize that. I saw the zip monster in the middle, kind of, but I didn't realize they have the ones on the outside like that too.
See, right, there's the eye. Yeah. There's his mouth open, and his
mouth inverted again.
Trunk goes back.
Yeah.
So there's 4 of them there. So it's all this Mars reference. Also, you see the same type of these star shields like this in Sumeria. The Sumerians, the Babylonians, they did these. And this is a guy sitting. He's got a bow and arrow here, and he's got some kind of leech hanging off his shoulder. I don't know what's going on with that, but and he just showing the comparison, the same kind of star disc that they're in. And a lot of these in Mesopotamia, very decorative. Mm-hmm. Now we're going back to the whole idea with Dr. Tom Van Franlin talking about this nuclear event that happened on Mars with the Xenon 129. He believes there was an explosion in Cydonia. Whoops. And one in, this is Utopia over here. NASA renamed Utopia Geoglyphs Chaos. Chaos.
Wow.
You got trouble when you have chaos.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like Utopia at all.
Well, this is the Utopia area. NASA renamed it for some reason.
Okay.
Dr. Brandenburg talks about why he thinks they renamed it. But this is where the nuclear events happened about 1 million years ago, according to him. This is the guy here, Joe. Mm-hmm. He was a CIA agent in 1984. They were tasked with doing remote viewing on Mars, and his group all saw the same thing, basically, that Mars had these large beings living on there, and they were at war. And it happened about 1 million years ago. Interesting correlation. The Maya talk about this conflict between Naranjo, Tikal, and Cozumel, those little towns there, the cities that were fighting with this Mars culture, the zip monster people.
Yeah.
And that was around the same time, 896,000 years ago. So interesting correlations.
It's funny. I just had a interview with another author regarding remote viewing, and we were just talking about how supposedly they just found the Ark of the Covenant, or the CIA was using remote viewers to find the Ark of the Covenant or something of that nature. So I found out that was pretty interesting.
Did they find it in the basement of the Smithsonian?
I don't think they did, but supposedly at that time when they
Oh,
did because this was many years, this is declassified, supposedly CIA information that just came out probably a few months ago, that they actually admitted to using remote viewing to find the Ark of the
oh,
Covenant. And at that time, they said that they found it somewhere in the Middle East. They didn't say exactly where. I think
oh, really?
Lebanon or something like that. Somewhere in
Wow.
Lebanon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah, I mean,
Lebanon's a very important place.
yeah, yeah, it
Yeah, that
is.
was very connected to Solomon's Temple when Solomon's
Great.
Temple was built. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And again, I'm not suggesting that the Maya or the Aztec or the Olmec were on Mars, but somebody bestowed this information to them. And this whole idea of, the Maya recording this stuff, and they were actually taught because the Maya records and the Maya culture only goes back, it doesn't go back a million years that we know of, and
Right.
thousands of years maybe. And what they were doing is they were doing reenactments. The Maya did reenactments when they became the new Lord would come in and they'd have ceremonies. The
Hmm.
new Lord would dress up like the Zip Monster, dress up like the principal bird deity or some of the other gods. And so they did all these little ceremonials, which were reenactments of sacred events. And the Aztecs would do what they call the Flower War. Have you ever heard of Flower Wars?
No, no.
Well, the Aztec Flower War uh, would be these little cities next to each other. The lords or the kings of those areas would get together and they'd say, well, when Venus comes up next summer, we're going to have this battle. And
Hmm.
it's a reenactment battle. And they
Hmm.
don't kill anybody, they just take prisoners.
Gotcha.
Because they're reenacting a battle that happened, sometimes 10,000, 20,000 years ago, according
Yeah.
to their lineage. And the Maya would do the same thing. And this whole idea of reenactments, it's just like we do. We have Civil
Right.
War
I was
reenactments
just
where
about to
these
say
people
that.
get very
Yeah.
much into this. They have the uniforms made, they got to be tailored exactly how they were, during the Civil War. I've gone to some, I used to live in New Jersey, and there's a lot of battlefields there. And I went to numerous reenactments. A friend of ours got married. They got married at one of the reenactments. They were so into it, the two of them, him and his wife.
Wow.
So they were like getting
That's
married in
dedication.
like 1865. It was the whole thing. It's pretty amazing. They eat this. They have to eat what they ate there, and the same kind of
Yeah.
thing. They really get
Yeah.
into it. So,
Yeah.
and it's like this whole time warp that they get into. It's like they're
Yeah.
at the period. They're there, and
Hmm.
they do the night jousting, and so there's a lot of examples of this whole idea of doing reenactments. And of course, crazy people, currently do the Star Wars reenactment.
Yeah, you can't leave them out, right? Come on.
No, they do the same thing. I mean, you can't go anywhere with some grown man whipping out a saber
A
and everything
lightsaber, right?
with Star
Uh,
Wars tattoos.
it's
It's a
funny
whole
though,
different
like
culture.
we just repeat doing the same thing over and over and over, and that's what it seems like to me, right?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of Elon Musk wants to go to Mars and set up a. I mean, have we done this before? Seems to sound like something we've done before.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah. And and again, now you being able to kind of tie a lot of that together from these photos, I mean, that are on Mars and having the almost exact replica of things that you see here on Earth. It's amazing to me. It really is. It really is.
Now, this is Adela. She was an artist during the early 1900s. She was
Hmm.
also an archaeologist, and she was
Hmm.
allowed to go into Chichen Itza because she was such a great artist and a scientist that they let her do watercolors of these murals. Now, these murals now today are practically gone because of the humidity and everything, and people going in there. I know probably 50 years ago they closed it off because just the breathing in there was deteriorating the walls, but
Hmm.
thank god she got to paint these, and she was meticulous. I mean, she didn't exaggerate anything.
Hmm.
And this is part of one of the murals in there. Below this is the battle scene, they're fighting, and up in the sky we have what they call the captain, the sun captain. He's in one of
Hmm.
these starships with his weapon, and this
Hmm.
guy here is on a zip monster, a serpent. So we have the
Yeah,
star
I see
captain
that.
attacking this guy here who's riding on a zip monster.
The Zip Monster. Right.
Yep. It's pretty amazing. So they're showing that there's fighting going on. This is sky battles.
Mm, 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 mm.
So I think that's how I end the book.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's a great way of putting a stamp on this. I mean, alone from the examples that you put out here, I mean, I think it's a great way of introducing this theory about, hey, listen, these things here that are left here, this is a good representation of, hey, we've maybe been here before, and we've probably done this play before, and
Right.
this is not the first time we've done this. This is probably the second, maybe third, who knows? Fourth,
Yeah.
fifth, maybe thousands, who knows? But George, where can people find your work and where can they find the book?
Well, the book's put out by Barron Company. They can order it there. You can
Hmm.
get it on Amazon. Amazon has, I mean, most people are buying it through Amazon, I believe.
Hmm.
And if they do buy, please give a nice review. More reviews, the better. And like I said earlier, if you love the book, I would recommend getting the Kindle also because it makes a great companion where you can actually look at these images, these NASA digital images that I have in the book with a higher resolution, so you can zoom in on things. So I'd recommend getting both.
Yeah, I think so too because getting I'm a bibliophile. I love having the physical version of a book,
Oh yeah,
but then when it comes to something like this, you got to get the Kindle version of it too because then that way you actually see in a very higher resolution what you're talking about. And yeah,
exactly.
this is definitely the one to do that. So again, everybody, I implore you to go check out this book, The Great Architects of Mars, by George Haas. George, thanks so much for coming on Dark Fringe Radio. And we're definitely gonna have you come back on in the future for some definitely some more talk about Mars and these things. I mean, it's just crazy. I love it.
Well, William, that might be something we can do. While all this was going on this month, I have my seventh science paper published,
Wow,
uh,
look at you.
and it deals with that square formation on Mars that everybody was talking about from Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was just published in the Journal of Astrobiology.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, look at
So
me. Huh?
look at you. So are we gonna do a book about that? Maybe is that
Well,
another
we just
project?
did a science paper,
Yeah. Okay. All right. I
and
got
it
you.
also with Robert Schoch.
Oh yes, I'm familiar with his work. Yeah.
He's now my
Yeah.
buddy. We did a paper together, so I was shocked that he not to pun
No pun
his
intended.
name, but do you know uh, Cliff Dunning from Earth Ancients
Yes, I've heard. Yeah, I know
podcast?
of him. I've never
Well,
spoken to
yeah,
him.
I've
Yes.
been on his show a lot. We go back many years. We're pretty good friends, and we had lost our geologist Michael Dale a couple of years ago. He passed away
Oh wow.
unexpectedly. And
Mm-hmm.
so we had some ideas to do some papers. Bill and I, my co-author from my first two books, he's a geomorphologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Cliff, because he interviews all these people, I said, do you know any geologists that would be interested in, working on some Mars information? So
Mm-hmm.
within a week, he sent me Robert's email. I sent him uh, an idea of what we were doing with this square formation that everybody was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, sure, send me what you got. So he had it for like 3 days and he sent it back and he had added a whole geological analysis and put his name on the paper.
Yeah, well, there you
He was
go.
in. So that it all happened
Yeah,
so fast.
that's awesome. No, that's so great that, when and this is what the whole thing is about. When we share this information with each other, we get on these shows, we talk about these subject matters, and being able to connect each other with other people to even spread the knowledge even further.
Right.
I think that's another part and important aspect of what we do and why what we do when we have these podcasts and talk about these things. So yeah, I think it's very important. It's not looked upon very often and not done very much, but I think it's very important. But yeah, listen, that's what this whole thing is about, my friend George. Again, you've done a phenomenal job. I implore everybody again to go check out this book, The Great Architects of Mars. Of course, George Haas. Check it out. You can check it out on Amazon.com. Again, George, you've been a pleasure, and thank you for coming on Dark Fringe Radio.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, my friend. Thank you, and have a great night.
You too.
All right.